Oluchi, a beautiful lady, was done with her schooling and working in a hospital as the pharmacist of the psychiatric ward. She tried so hard to build a relationship with all her patients, aiming for a better understanding of each one. She always wanted to make them feel relaxed and at home. Her dispensing and counseling skills were top-notch. Even most doctors asked what magic she was using. Most patients preferred talking to her. She was the go-to for everyone in the clinic. When a patient was experiencing any episodes or when a new patient arrived, she was asked to be on standby while the doctor counseled them. The way she talked to the patients made them feel safe in the clinic. Oluchi's job paid her really well, but she didn't have time for herself. Her life revolved around her job. There was no time for love. All she did was go to work, church, and home. She lived a triangular life. Everyone around her started complaining, especially her parents. Her mother constantly reminded her that she was getting too old and would soon be off the market, but she believed that love would come her way someday. Due to constant pressure from her parents, she started trying to hang out during her free days. She went on different dates. Some were set up by her parents, while others were just friends she knew. Oluchi tried to have good conversations whenever she went on dates, but it seemed that most of the men weren't quite interested in her profession. Some even made fun of her, saying, "I thought those who deal with psychiatric patients have to be mad to do so," and they laughed uncontrollably. Personally, for Oluchi, she didn't have much to say about herself. Given that she dedicated herself entirely to her job, she knew her life was boring but couldn't help it. The demands of her career clashed with her desire for a fulfilling relationship, leaving her torn between her professional obligations and her personal aspirations. Each day, she struggled with the weight of her responsibilities, questioning whether she could ever find a balance between her devotion to her career and her longing for love. One fateful day, a depressed man was brought into the clinic. The patient was very aggressive, and no one in the clinic could calm him down. When one of the nurses tried injecting him to calm him down, he quickly grabbed her hands and took the syringe. As usual, they called pharmacist Oluchi for help. When she came in, she smiled at the young man and tried talking to him, trying to distract him so they could retrieve the syringe. Instead, he stabbed her with the injection and she slumped, being rushed to the general outpatient unit to flush her system and make her feel okay. During her recovery, Oluchi found herself grappling with conflicting emotions. While she was grateful for the opportunity to help her patients, she couldn't shake the incident with the aggressive patient. It served as a stark reminder of the risks she faced in her line of work, leaving her feeling vulnerable and exposed. On the other hand, Mr. Tolu was chained, given his injection, and kept in a secluded room for proper observation. When Oluchi recovered, she quickly went to check on the patient. She noticed he was in a different room, properly locked, as the clinic was trying to prevent him from harming himself or anyone else. With constant treatments and counseling, Mr. Tolu gradually got better. When he was out from the secluded room, he apologized to Oluchi for the last time. She was quite surprised, as many patients don't remember what they did in their depressed state. They started communicating, and Mr. Tolu explained what led to his depression. He witnessed his girlfriend, who he was about to marry, being knocked down by a car while crossing the road to meet him. The scene haunted him, leading to his depression. After a month of being in the hospital, he was fit to be discharged. Before leaving, he collected Oluchi's number to keep in touch. After months of conversation over the phone, which started with complaints about his drugs, to gradually developing feelings for his pharmacist, Mr. Tolu was too scared to let his feelings out, fearing rejection. On the other hand, Oluchi also had feelings for him but knew she needed to be professional. Mr. Tolu was having a small birthday dinner, so he invited Oluchi over. She dressed her best and also brought a gift. After the dinner, invited guests gradually left, and Mr. Tolu asked Oluchi if he could have a word with her, which she agreed to. He then expressed how he felt about her and told her to take her time to respond, mentioning that he wasn't expecting an immediate answer. She nodded and said she would give it some thought. As much as Oluchi liked him, she feared being judged by friends, family, and colleagues. She didn't know what to do or say. She just swept it under the carpet. Months passed, and there wasn't any response from Oluchi. So Mr. Tolu decided to pay her a visit at work, since it was time for his next appointment. When Oluchi saw him, they exchanged pleasantries. She dispensed his medications to him and also cheered him on for doing better each day. While leaving, he felt she didn't want a relationship with him and was politely saying no without saying it. But when he got to his car, he got a message from Oluchi stating she would like to see him today after work hours. He didn't think much about it. After work, they met and got talking. Oluchi accepted his feelings but told him to take things slow, which they both agreed to. Months into the relationship, Oluchi was shining, and you could tell she was in love. Things were going well for both of them, though she wrestled with the complexities of her emotions, torn between her growing affection for Mr. Tolu and the lingering doubts about his troubled past. After several months of being together, Mr. Tolu told her it was time to take it to the next level by meeting his parents and her parents, to which she agreed. They fixed a date and met with Oluchi's parents. They were having fun until the question of where they met popped up. Mr. Tolu said, "I was one of your daughter's patients." The parents smiled and didn't say anything further. They had a quiet dinner and everyone left. That night, Oluchi's parents feared for her safety and well-being, unable to comprehend her willingness to overlook the red flags that they saw so clearly. So they called to let her know that they didn't approve of her relationship with Mr. Tolu, but she tried to make them understand that he's better now, to no avail. She didn't mention this to Tolu and just went with the flow. It was time to visit Mr. Tolu's place. They were welcomed by Tolu's parents and his sister Bisi. Tolu introduced Oluchi to them and they had a quiet dinner. She felt something odd about the family. She was a bit scared and couldn't wait for the dinner to be over. After dinner, Bisi asked if they could exchange numbers, but Tolu refused and told Oluchi not to worry, saying Bisi is a pest and she doesn't need her type of disturbances. Oluchi said okay, and they left. Weeks later, Bisi visited her at work. She was shocked to see her, but remembered she mentioned being the pharmacist at the hospital where her brother got his treatments. So she stepped out to have a word with her. Bisi told her why she visited. She wanted to ask her to be very careful with her brother. Oluchi was confused, as she hadn't seen such behavior from Mr. Tolu. Just for Bisi to break the news of how Tolu killed his supposed fiancée, and claimed it was an accident because he had a past history of schizophrenia. He started acting mad to get away with it, but my feelings are telling me he did it on purpose. Oluchi was dumbfounded, but she asked the reason Tolu killed his ex. She was told he found out she wanted to dump him when she found out who he really was. Oluchi felt pressured immediately, sweating from every part of her body. She was scared and confused. She excused herself and quickly used the restroom. While in the restroom, she summoned the courage to tell Tolu that her parents didn't accept their relationship due to tribal differences. She didn't mention what she heard from Bisi or the actual reason her parents refused. She also called her mother to inform her of what she just heard. Bisi, on the other hand, had her own reasons for warning Oluchi about Mr. Tolu. As someone who had witnessed the darker side of his past, she felt compelled to protect her from potential harm. Despite her own reservations, she knew that Oluchi deserved to know the truth to make an informed decision about her future. That evening, when they met after eating, she quickly told Tolu that her parents didn't accept their relationship due to tribal differences, but that she was still trying to convince them. She noticed his mood change, but she kept her act together. Tolu quickly asked if she was sincere, to which she said yes and told him to please be patient with them. However, she added that if they didn't accept, she couldn't go against them as she was their only child. She saw the anger in his eyes but didn't allow it to affect her. She had made up her mind for whatever was going to happen. Tolu then replied, "I can see you don't like me enough to convince your parents of our relationship, but like you said, You won't go against them. Just make sure you're telling me the truth, because I hate lies." Then he angrily left. Months passed and there was no word from Oluchi. She was scared that Tolu was going to visit her parents to confirm if her words were true. One fateful evening, Mr. Tolu went to visit Oluchi's parents. After welcoming him in, they waited for him to state his purpose. Mr. Tolu then started explaining that Oluchi told him they wouldn't accept their marriage because of tribal reasons. Tolu tried convincing them that it wouldn't be an issue. Unbeknownst to him, Oluchi had already told her mother what she heard from Bisi. Oluchi's mother responded, "She's our only child and we love her. She should marry within our tribe." Tolu left angrily. He went to Oluchi's place of worship to see if he could talk to her one more time, wanting to convince her that he wouldn't let tribe affect their relationship. On getting to Oluchi's workplace, he was surprised not to find her there, so he asked her colleagues, and they responded that she had stopped working 2 weeks ago. Tolu was shocked and quickly went to her house, only to find it locked. Confused, he dashed to Oluchi's parents' house where her mother stepped out. He asked about Oluchi, and her mother responded that she hadn't heard or seen her since his last visit, asking if everything was okay. Tolu told her everything that he found out. Oluchi resigned from work and wasn't at home. Oluchi's mother pretended to be shocked by all Tolu was saying. She quickly brought out her phone to call Oluchi, but her phone was switched off. She then told Tolu not to worry and that she would let him know when she heard from her. Days passed with no word from anyone. Oluchi, on the other hand, had relocated to a different state and was working in a pediatric ward in a big hospital. Bisi's actions ultimately paved the way for her liberation from the shackles of deception and manipulation. She didn't want to have anything to do with Tolu again and feared confronting him. To her, it was better to run. Her parents knew about everything from the onset but didn't share a word, as their daughter's life was more important to them. Mr. Tolu never found out the real reason why Oluchi didn't continue the relationship, but he accepted his fate. Oluchi never contacted him again. It was all thanks to Bisi, who would have known the fate of Oluchi. The moral lesson: in the pursuit of love and happiness, always prioritize your safety and well-being. Trust your instincts, be cautious of red flags, and never compromise your integrity for the sake of a relationship. Also, be careful of deceptive behavior. Mr. Tolu's struggles with depression and grief offer insight into his character beyond the surface. His initial interactions with Oluchi reveal a wounded soul seeking solace and understanding.
Please like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on the notification bell to get more interesting stories like this.